Hey, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com, and in this video we are going to look at the credit card statement balance versus the credit card current balance that you would see on your bills or when you look online, and tell you what the difference is and which one you are supposed to pay. But before I do that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already, and if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So when you go to pay your credit card bill online or through a mobile app, you are going to see usually the statement balance shown there, and then you're going to see the current balance shown there. And this can be a little confusing, especially to people that maybe are getting credit cards for the first time. You've got two different balances. What's the difference between them? Which one are you supposed to pay? So I'll give you the short answer and then we'll go into a little more detail. So the credit card statement balance is the amount you owed last time a bill was generated by the credit card company. So your credit card company is going to send you a bill for a certain period of time, and all the charges that were in that certain statement period are going to be on there. If you had a balance before that, they're going to add them onto that. But your statement balance is going to be the balance you had on a certain statement date that is in the past. Now, your current balance is your balance today, your balance currently. And so, since the statement date is in the past, there is a time period in between the statement date and today's date when you still may have used the credit card more. So the statement date, you had a certain balance, but if you've used the card more, the current balance is probably going to be higher than that. So in general, you can think of the current balance as being higher than the statement balance. Current balance equals statement balance plus new charges and perhaps interest if you've revolved a balance from month to month. So if at the beginning of the last statement period you had no balance, your card was completely paid off, and you were looking today at the statement balance and the current balance and wondering which one do I have to pay to avoid any interest charges? I don't want to pay any interest, I want to pay off everything. You would only have to pay off the statement balance. You would not have to pay off that current balance in order to avoid interest charges. All right, examples always help. Here is the online portal for one of my Capital One cards, and you can look on here and you can see that my statement balance is $155.34. You can see that the current balance is $299.84. Now, I always pay off my credit cards in full every month. I don't want to pay interest. So in this case, if I want to pay things off completely so that I don't have to pay any interest, I only have to pay that statement balance. I only have to pay that $155.34, and they won't charge me any interest. Yes, I will still have the rest of that money, the difference between the current balance and the statement balance on the card, and eventually I will have to pay it, but I only need to pay the statement balance now in order to avoid interest charges. So just to be clear one more time, the current balance includes the statement balance plus any new charges. The statement balance is part of the current balance, which means they are not two different balances in terms of what you have to pay. You don't have to pay the statement balance and the current balance. I don't have to pay $155.34 plus $299.84. I have to pay that $155 to avoid interest charges. If I wanted to pay off everything that I had on the card, I could pay that $299, but I would never have to pay both of them. And one last time to be clear, my current balance $299.84, my statement balance $155.34. If I subtract my statement balance from my current balance, that will show me what new charges there have been since that last statement was cut. In this case, that would be $144.50. But again, I don't have to pay off that $144.50 in order to avoid the interest charges as long as I started from a place where I was not revolving a balance. All right, so that may have been enough of an explanation for you to have your question answered, but I'll go into a little more detail in case you are still confused. So let's say you got a new credit card that had a zero balance, obviously, and you have had that card for, I don't know, 35 or 40 days or so. You've been using it all along every 2 or 3 days, whatever. After the first 25 to 30 days, your credit card company wants to get paid for the purchases that you have made during that first 25 to 30 days, right? So they have what they call a statement date. Sometimes people call it the cut date, where they are going to cut things off and say everything that was purchased from this cut date and before, we now want to get paid for, or at least we are going to bill for, and you're either going to pay it all off, or if you don't pay it all off, we're going to end up charging you interest on it. But you're going to get a bill that is going to be for everything from before that cutoff date, right? But you still have the credit card even after that cutoff date, and you may have continued to use it after that cutoff date. So that means the amount of debt you actually have on that card after 35 or 40 days is probably going to be more than the debt you had on that card when they did the cutoff and they sent a bill out. So they're sending you a bill for everything that first 25 to 30 days, but you've continued to use the card, and so you have a higher current balance. So the statement balance is the balance on the date that they cut things off and they created a bill. The current balance is the balance today, every single thing that you have purchased probably up to this very minute. So again, looking at my online account, you can see that the statement date was August 16th. That $155 is what I owed on August 16th, but I have a long time to actually pay off that card. And so I don't actually have to pay. My due date is until September 13th. So any purchases that I make in between August 16th and September 13th are going to get pushed off to the following period, and they will bill me for those later. So I only owe what was up to that August 16th date, which is that $155.34. The $299 is all the debt I have on the card right now, but again, I don't owe all of that necessarily. I could pay it if I wanted to, but I only have to pay that $155 to avoid paying any interest. So if the statement balance versus the current balance can be confusing, why do the credit card companies show you both of them? It used to actually be that when you only got paper bills, you'd only see the statement balance. You wouldn't even know what your current balance was. Well, there are a couple of reasons for it, and the first one is simply that it is a courtesy to show you what your current balance is. If you aren't really aware necessarily in your head of how many more charges you have put on a credit card since the last time they sent that bill out to you, it's a way for you to easily see. In my example of my own account, I owe $155 on that last statement date, but I can also see I put $144 more of charges or so onto that card. So it's just a way for me in my head to have some idea of how much more I already have spent and then what I'm going to have to pay eventually. Now, the second reason they might show you that current balance is because if you are someone that has been revolving a balance, meaning you haven't been paying off your complete bill every month and there are some interest charges on there, then not only is it beneficial to know what your statement balance was, but it's good to know what your current balance is because you know that you are getting charged interest every single day at this point. So if you have put a lot more charges on there, even if you pay off that complete statement balance, you're still going to be getting charged interest every day because you still have a balance that is going forward into the future, and the way that the credit card calculations are done in terms of how interest is charged, you are going to be paying on an average daily balance of what you have on your card. So it is good for you to know what that current balance is if you know that you are going to have to pay interest. I recently did a video on how credit card interest works, so if you're a little confused about what I'm talking about, you might want to check that one out because it can be a little confusing. All right, and then there's one final sort of related question that I think sometimes plays into the confusion between the statement balance and the current balance, and that is the fact that when you go to pay your bill online or through a bank's mobile app, oftentimes what is going to happen is you're going to make your payment and then you'll get a little message back from the bank saying thank you for your payment, showing you, how much the payment was, maybe what bank account it's coming out of, etc. And then you'll go back to the main page of that account and you'll see that the statement balance and the current balance have not changed. You just made a payment, but when you go back, you're going to see that those are still exactly the same. And sometimes people see that and they panic a little bit. They think, well, I just made the payment. Why is it not showing up? Did I do something wrong? Should I have paid the current balance instead? And in reality, all that is happening there is that there is some lag time between when you make that payment and when it is actually credited to your account. The bank that issues that credit card is going to sort of give you credit for having paid the bill, but they're not actually going to apply it to your balance until they are sure that you actually have that money in the account that you are paying with. So they are saying, yes, you made your payment on time, but they're not actually going to change the numbers that you see until they are sure that you have that money and it has been transferred to them to pay on your balance. So don't freak out. Come back in 24 hours, or if you paid on the weekend, come back on Monday at some point to see if that has changed. It's not going to change oftentimes. As soon as you make that payment, there is going to be a lag. All right, I think that's it. Did that make sense? Did it not make sense? Let me know in the comments. If you have other questions, I will try to answer them. Otherwise, I thank you for watching. And as always, please go to proudmoney.com, where we do credit card reviews. We talk personal finance. We talk deals and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thank you for watching. Bye.